Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Monday 10 a.m. business meeting. Looks like we'll just go down the agenda. We'll start with the employee.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jessica Warren, Human Resources. First item I have comes from the board's office. A few salary reclassifications. I hear an echo.
We fixed it.
Okay. A few salary reclassifications. So the current clerk of the board requesting to reclassify her to an executive assistant / clerk of the board at salary grade 590. And then second item is the public records officer, reclassifying her to public records manager at salary grade 555. And this goes along with centralization of public records at the county, along with the newly requested position to assist her in this. And then the last item from the board's office is reclassifying the office specialist to administrative assistant at salary grade 15, as she will also be taking on some additional duties.
Okay. Any comments?
Just a quick question. What's the title of the first title I got changed, executive assistant / clerk of the board.
Mhm.
What was the next one?
Public records officer to public records manager.
Okay, thank you.
We all good? Yeah.
We talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this will be effective October 16th. And then next item is a request to fill from the health department. One of their public health nurses, Chelsea Pugh, has put in her resignation. It was effective September 7th, and they would like to refill her position.
Can you share with us a little bit about what her duties have been?
Gina's here.
Hey, good morning, Gina James, Health and Human Services. This particular public health nurse position does the maternal child health work. So they do the work first evaluations as well as the, it's called CHISKIN, Children and Youth with Special Healthcare Needs, referrals that come from different hospitals and pediatricians to help connect to resources for children with special healthcare needs. They also do some of the general communicable disease work as well, but primarily the maternal child health work.
And that's not the grant that we kind of palmed off onto Clark County several years ago.
No, I think you're thinking of Nurse Family Partnership.
Mhm. Are they still doing that for Cowlitz County or?
They are, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can you tell me what the caseload is?
We typically see about 2 to 3 work first evaluations per month. And those are often in-home evaluations to determine if there's a parent who needs to stay home with their child because of a healthcare need. The evaluation helps give information for that determination. And the CHISKIN referrals, we see about 150 each year, which is about 12 per month. And then, as I mentioned, they also fill in and help with some of the typical communicable disease cases that come in.
Can you run through an example that I understand? So some event occurs, the nurse gets involved, and then there's some consequent actions. Can you run through sort of a classic example?
Yeah, are you, let's see. So with the CHISKIN referrals, for example, it could be a baby born with some type of special healthcare needs, like needing a feeding tube or something like that. The hospital will often send a referral to the CHISKIN program. So the nurse then gets that referral information and will reach out to that family and help try to connect them with different resources that may be able to help help them learn about the condition, help them connect with what might benefit the child and the health issue that they're going through. So that's kind of a brief example.
So are those referrals made regardless of income, or is it part of the welfare program supports that are available?
I don't believe that one is connected to income. No.
Okay.
What, it sounds like you described a coordinator rather than a nurse. Am I off?
I see in that example, it's, connecting to certain resources. They're primarily focused around health types of issues. Some of the other duties of the position too, the work first referrals is more of a clinical evaluation of what is the health issue of the child and how is it, what kind of assistance would they need from their parent as part of that evaluation. And as I mentioned, they also fill in with some of the communicable disease casework that comes through the department as well.
And can you give me another example of a referral? Or can I just walk into your office at HHS and just say, I got a 2-year-old, I don't know what to do, seems to be having allergies all the time.
Yep.
This is the individual that would.
Yes, we would connect you and the nurse would reach out and talk about what's going on and resources that might be able to help.
And what is the reason the current person is leaving?
They moved out of the state.
And you accepted that?
Well, we tried to tell her no, but.
Any other questions? Any concerns with it? I think we're good.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I will back up nothing to the previous one. I just want to say everything we've approved here in the commissioner's office is all within existing budget. There's nothing been added. Yeah.
Then the only other items I have on my list are a collective bargaining executive session and then a executive session on the performance of a public employee for the end.
For the end.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Budget.
Good morning, Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. So busy week last week, we brought on our new risk manager, so spent a lot of time with the risk manager. We are preparing for the budget workshop tomorrow for personnel. So we'll be ready for that. And then I also sent out to the commissioners last week some monthly reports. And so the last one that I sent out was for the month of August. And the good news is on our revenue side, we are showing, that our revenues, particularly like, for example, in taxes, which is our by far largest revenue area for the general fund, we're up over last year 3.5%. So.
When you say taxes, is that all taxes or just?
It's all taxes, property taxes, sales tax, other miscellaneous taxes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. So, any
So that rate of
questions?
increase is actually slowing. 'Cause
Yes.
It has been a higher percentage year over year, but
Yes, it's slowing. Mhm.
to be expected as the economy settles down a little bit.
So that's all I have to report today. Just preparing for budget workshops.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy. Corrections.
Good morning, Marin Fox, Corrections.
A brief update on the jail population. Today, we're at 226 with 52 bookings over the weekend. We were quite busy with bookings last week in general. And I ran the report for bookings for the month of September, and I wanted to give you some information on that. We had a 118 bookings for drug charges for some form of possession or possession with intent. 81 bookings for DUIs, 22 bookings for unlawful camping, 9 bookings for shopping cart theft. And should I slow down?
Yeah,
Okay.
for the 81 DUIs,
Mhm.
that's both alcohol and anything else?
Correct.
Okay, thank
And
you.
all of these numbers would include fresh bookings as well as being booked on a warrant. So it could be either or.
And then the next category is 20,
22 for unlawful camping,
thank you.
9 for shopping cart possession, and 117 for theft, third, shoplifting.
117
Mhm.
for,
Shoplifting,
oh,
and 1 for glue sniffing.
Bruce. That's an old habit, isn't it?
One for glue snipping?
That's right. If you're interested in seeing the full report,
Okay.
I'd be happy to send it to you.
So the illegal camping, shopping cart theft and petty theft, shoplifting. Those are all big increases over, say, the last 3 or 4 years. In part because of the change in homelessness policies pursued by the city of Longview. They've been able to pick people up and hold them accountable, or try to anyway.
The unlawful camping is primarily, if not all, city of Longview.
Mhm.
And I could run a comparison, and I will run a comparison from 22 to 23 when we get closer to the end of the year.
and these are all going to appear before a judge sometime here today. And,
Those were for the month of September.
oh, that was the entire month.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I didn't know if today was the day to discuss the IT request when I had the terrible connectivity during the workshop, budget workshop last week, or if you wanted to add that to a different workshop. For the inmate ID system.
Oh, the ID system.
Mhm.
Here she was talking about the.
Right, yeah.
I think we just finally understood really it's just kind of a placeholder. And then when you go out to bid, we'll get probably more details on how it all operates. You'll have probably bids from more than one person. You just reached out to put a placeholder in the budget. So I
Correct.
think
We've identified 2 companies that do this that we're interested in. The purchase price is approximately the same, but there is a difference in the yearly price, which I believe was your question, the ongoing yearly price. So that'll definitely be a factor as we're evaluating the responses to the RFPs.
So how do you anticipate your new inmate comes in and they'll spend half a day there, let's say, but it doesn't matter how long they spend, they're going to have a band of some kind?
I believe there's bands as well as cards that they carry. We have options as far as how you go about implementing, but
Okay, and do you know offhand, do you reuse those bands?
I don't believe so because they have to be,
Okay.
clicked on in a way that they're difficult to tamper with. although
So
I'm sure they'll
you're
find a way.
proposing to pick up an anticipated supply for 6 months or a year under that contract?
That's correct. And part of the ongoing contract, I'm sure, is the replacement and ongoing supply of the bracelets or the cards
Got
that
it.
aren't reusable.
And that RFID is going to be a proximity thing. So before, under what circumstances do you anticipate this would be used? So I've got the band on me. Now what happens?
So right now, we don't have any identification like that at all. So it'll replace our guard track system, which is how we record our safety checks one of, a primary responsibility of the officers is to check on inmate safety per policy, which is hourly during the day, half hourly at night. And we have a system that's very old that we do that with. So this would also replace that. It would allow us to better track inmate activity. So when we send them to the yard, the officers will have like a cell phone essentially, and they can identify that they send them to the yard, and then it's recorded in the system.
Do they have to enter this cell in order to do that?
You would do that as they're having them leave the cell. The same with like medication. It will allow tracking to show better track what we're doing, or better show what we're doing, really, because we don't have a system that shows. So if someone were to file a grievance, say, I never got to go to the yard the entire time I was there. Now we don't have a system to identify whether or not they did. This would allow us to
Right.
identify, what we provided for them.
I'm curious about the future. It seems like we're subject oftentimes to having to keep a pretty close eye on the inmate in terms of health.
Mhm.
So like this watch I have here, I push a button, it tells me what my pulse ox is or my heart. Do we have any of that in mind for the future?
We've looked at that technology in the past. It's not something we've moved forward with, and I don't believe that's part of what this project would be.
Is there any interest in it is kind of my question. I assume it's a little bit out of reach right now, and we have to digest this RFID and get the policies worked out there, but we're approaching the time where if we take a look ahead, we might.
Sure. As I said, we've looked at it in the past. I would assume it was a pretty high price point, but I'd be happy to look at the technology again. It may have changed by now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? That's all I had.
Three square meals a day means they're going to be very healthy to begin with. So
That's right.
probably don't have to be that precise in monitoring.
Yeah, sure. All right.
Thanks, Marin.
Thank you.
IT.
Morning, Commissioners. Kim Hort, IT Director. Kind of the same report from last week. We are focused on our phone rollout. We are working with the administration building this week. So our team is ready to push a lot of phones out to departments. And then administrative wise, I'm working on the CGIS audit. So similar to what I reported last week.
For the average occupant in this building, then what should they see? So I'm at my desk and somebody comes in and says, I'm swapping out your phone, and it takes 5 minutes and then we're done.
We're estimating at most 15. We timed a full, like plugging in the phone, doing a firmware update, and we're averaging about 7. Our goal is to get that even less. We know it's going to be a disruption to the departments. So we're kind of putting in a window of time and kind of working in the departments. We're not taking all the phones offline at once. It's maybe 3 or 4 at a time, but we're averaging about 7, but estimating about 15.
Okay, so for the individual, it should not be a big deal.
That's the goal.
Okay. And then the cyber security assessment, could you give us the timelines on that again?
The CGIS audit,
Yeah,
that one is performed every 3 years. And so our last one was in 2020, and we're working with corrections, the juvenile center, prosecuting attorney's office, and submitting questionnaires. And then we'll have an audit. I believe it's scheduled later this month, early November, for a phone call with the Washington State Patrol.
and one thing we talked about any number of times is part of that is going to be the request from the courts for additional cameras and server, and that's all on track.
That is kind of in the early stages. We got funding approved last week. And then I spoke with our new risk manager and priced him of kind of the project history and where we're going, and then coordinating a time to do a final walkthrough with the vendor. And I'm looking probably late October, early November for that one as well, due to schedules.
I would guess more like November. It's almost Halloween.
That's to get like the final walkthrough to where we can finalize what our contract will look like.
Yeah.
My goal is to start working Q1 of 2024.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Kim. Any miscellaneous, anything else?
On a miscellaneous, what's happening for the Wednesday meeting? Is that on? I should have paid closer attention. That's an evening meeting.
Well, Wednesday meeting was canceled?
It was canceled. Nobody submitted an agenda.
The night, the afternoon meeting.
Mhm.
In fact, everything on Wednesday is canceled?
Okay,
And then Thursday, we have the field trip. Yeah. Rain or shine,
Can be a part?
rain or shine.
Oh, that's the trip
yeah,
on
Thursday.
Wednesday. Oh, now I recall.
Yep.
Yeah.
on Thursday is the trip.
On Thursday is. the
Thursday's
trip.
a trip.
So
What's it got to do with Wednesday or I'm out
nothing.
to lunch?
It's just
Oh,
the
okay.
next- It's just the next activity.
Well, with my hearing and they say it's Wednesday, I say, no, the air isn't blowing much.
So I have enjoyed the anticipation of Fridays off, but I haven't had any yet. I have meetings that I'm always going to, so I'm zooming from home.
You need to
And
switch
I think
those
you probably
around.
all experience that because many of our agencies meet on Fridays, so.
Yeah, this Friday I was at the Clean Air meeting and that, by the way, for people who don't know, the Clean Air Agency is run by a fellow, Yuri Papish, and I think he does a great job. And it's really pretty much a check the box kind of thing. There's a set of EPA rules and he does a very good job of not trying to drum up extra work by saying, well, really, we shouldn't have airplanes flying out of a private airport because airplane fuel is still got pollutants, that kind of stuff. So he's laying, and the general fees or for violations have gone up. That's enough, I guess.
I just always remember his acknowledging the complexity of federal rules and regulations. I filled in one time for Joe, I think before you joined, and I may have shared this story before, but they announced that they were having to lower the standards, which is the standards allow how much particulate is acceptable. And so the lower the number, the more difficult it is to meet the regulations, right? And they explained that they had to do that because of the increased particulate in the Vancouver airshed. And I asked why the increase, and they said, well, all the forest fires. And the wind blows all the forests, ash into the urban area. So we have to raise the rules, increase the strictness of the what's allowable on the small businesses. And I said, but they didn't have anything to do with causing the particulate. This doesn't matter. That's what the rules require. If you detect the particulates, you gotta act. We don't regulate big business and we don't regulate cars. We just regulate small business.
Yeah, the fires actually caused them a great deal of problem. If you look at the charts where they say, use whatever metric you want, but they generally the 2.5 parts per million kind of thing. And you will see that it goes along and then it goes like that. And I mean dramatically like that. That's a fire. And then they have for the alerts, there's advisories and there's alerts. Interestingly enough, some of the universities here cooperate. They put together they have a MODEL model of the weather dynamics, and they plug in the certain conditions, and based on that, they may issue you an alert. You may go outside and think, looks fine. Just like when the weather forecaster says it's going to be pouring rain, you go out there and And so there is a little bit of arbitrariness in there. When they get to that's for an alert. The advisory stage is a little more stringent. Anyhow, yeah. Don't go out in the fire.
I do have an item on
Yeah.
miscellaneous. In November, the Wasac has their annual leadership conference. And we need to start registering. So it also includes a board meeting that I have to give reports to. So I will need permission to register and go to that conference. Hopefully, both of you will go, and it is open for all count.
That's up in Olympia?
It's in, I think, Spokane this year. They usually rotate between Spokane and Tacoma every
Yeah.
once in a while in King County.
Now, in a case like that, does Wasac pick up the tab?
No,
It's always us.
it's always us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I don't, might be one I attend, but do you know the dates on it? Have they sent it out yet?
There's coming out.
So it will be
around
coming
the
out
17th of November.
somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'll probably not go, but I would guess the chairman should go, and Dennis, I'm okay with all those.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Then we had, Jessica, you had a couple, collective bargaining. How long do you think? 20 minutes? And performance of a public employee? Okay. So we can adjourn to executive session for that? Okay, back from executive session, where we completed a collective bargaining session and performance of public employee. No decisions were made. Jessica?
Hello again, Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I would like to request authorization from the board to increase the employer contribution to health insurance for our non-represented exempt group to $18.50 a month, plus reinstating the Kaiser HSA contribution of $100.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Any other questions? I don't see any hands. Call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, commissioners.
Mhm. Anything else for the 10 a.m. meeting? Okay, we will adjourn the 10 a.m. meeting. Okay. 11 o'clock meeting, Public Works. I did excuse Public Works today because they were short on people, but we do have building and planning here.
Good morning, Board. Tracy Jackson, Building and Planning. We've got a request for a potential litigation executive session this morning, right at 11 if possible, with our prosecuting attorney's office. If we could do that for 10 minutes, that would be ideal.
Okay. So we will adjourn for executive session, potential litigation. You're estimating about 10 minutes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 11:15.
Okay, back from executive session, no decisions were made. Anything else?
I have a couple more items.
Okay.
Jim Bain, he's on our planning commission. He resigned effective today. So I'll be working with the board and seeing what we may do change. His term is expiring January 31st, 2025. So we had an extra year with him before we needed an appointment. So Orange
Was
District.
that departure on friendly terms or?
Oh, yeah, he
okay.
is, he was told that he cannot be on the Boundary Review Board and the Planning Commission by the Boundary Review Board's attorney. So he is stepping down.
Okay,
So that's an alleged
Conflict,
conflict of interest.
yes,
So he chose the Boundary Review Board.
he did.
Okay. Thank you.
They don't meet nearly as often.
True. I have in front of me a drainage, it's a memorandum of, that too. A memorandum of understanding between CDID number 2, which is the Woodland Diking District, Cowlitz County and the city of Woodland and the port of Woodland. And it's so CDID it's part of, they can do a drainage study, hydraulic and hydrologic drainage evaluation of the woodland bottoms. CDID number 2 will pay for all of it. It's their agreement with a consultant. They're going to utilize Gibbs and Olson.
So CDID number 2 is Woodland Bottoms, including the city of Woodland to the river,
Correct.
correct? Okay.
Correct.
So,
And since it's part of our Woodland Bottoms area, our PA's office and our contract attorney have both looked at this MOU and are more than happy with it.
Okay.
It will benefit us knowing what we really probably need to do in that area. And it's always nice when someone else goes forward with a consultant, then they don't ask the county for money. So
so you're putting that on the consent agenda?
if that
For
would be
us.
okay, I'll stick it on today for next week's agenda.
So more clarification. So this is an outfit that's going to do the hydrology of the bottoms?
A study, yes, to see what is needed to remove some of the water that compiles
To
it
see what is needed to do what?
for the drainage evaluation. For the water that piles up,
It has nothing to do with the septic system?
no.
Okay.
This is solely CDID number 2, asking the county and the city and the port to sign off on this.
Although if there's a problem with a high water table, that does have an impact on.
It will
septic
have an
tanks.
impact, yes.
So
Yeah, this
that
has-
would make sense. They just want the study to make sure that if they need to create a new drainage ditch or a new pump house, or they're justifying
Correct.
that, right?
Correct.
So yeah, this does have me confused. We've been operating like this for
Years,
tens of years.
yeah.
Well,
There's new development out
there's
there.
new
Maybe
development
that's
going
part
on
of
out there, yeah.
why they need, I know,
Who is driving it though? That's what,
CDID number 2.
why are they driving it?
I think they have ideas for some expansions that they want to do.
Some
Expansions,
expansion, thank
Yes.
you.
Development expansions,
yes.
yeah, okay. That could very easily be the port,
Well, the port has a lot of pending projects
right?
that they would like to pursue.
Mhm.
So it's kind of all in that glass bubble of us working with the Woodland Bottoms and
Yeah, I guess my point is CDID number 2 has no interest in acting on its own. It sounds like they're an agent for the port and other developers. Otherwise, expansion, why would they expand?
well, I think they get, if anybody wants to build in that area, they have to, anything that they add in addition to that creates additional waters or flooding or whatever,
So when you use the word expand, you don't mean adding acres to the district.
No, I'm
It's-
sorry.
You're talking about
To-
developing the property.
Correct. So they can, they can remove the water. Is Patrick on, Bailey? I don't know if he said he may chime in. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't think we have anybody from Public Works. We did, but they,
And Doug and Jay Durr have both put eyes on this MOA and are all in
Okay.
favor of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't see problems with trying to get more information
Right.
and in that sense, I'm always trying to understand the interactions because I find a lot of things are so deeply intertwined. You never know who's responsible for what and who's driving anything. And the chairman's laughing at me.
And I think we're very intertwined right now just because with the MOA with Woodland. And so everyone is at the table right now. And so they're trying to get all their cards in place.
Okay, and where does CDID two get its funding? It's its own funding
It's
entity.
their own, yes, or
Okay.
through the public works group and
Dyking
over
District
Fees?
improvement
levies.
assessments.
Okay,
It's
assessments.
not a property tax increase, they will tell you. It's an assessment on the property based on its value.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's.
Is there a formulaic distinction then? Like there's a, what, $10 and something cap on something?
It's based on the assessed value of the property, so.
But do we have to factor that in when we do other, I mean, if CDID two decided $10 per thousand, that,
Oh,
how do we account for that?
okay, so my understanding is that because it's an assessment, it doesn't get included in the proration of junior taxing districts that are limited in how much tax they can
All
charge.
right, that's the question.
They're outside of those restrictions. So any group that does an assessment for services or improvements are outside the tax limitation. So our mosquito board is one of those that does assessments. They don't do taxes. Weed board, they do assessments, not taxes. Although theirs is a little bit different. It's a per lot fee.
Mhm.
And then Dyking improvement districts. So, in Longview, we're part of CID one, so, and that's always an extra line on the property tax bill. It comes on the property tax bill, but it's not a tax.
Got they can't just arbitrarily make an assessment. We have to approve the assessment.
I don't think
think their
so.
board
They're
does.
separately elected,
I believe, correct.
but there's one or two Dyking districts where we are the supervisors. And so we do approve the assessments
see.
in those
Okay.
situations, but I think that's North Kelso and one of them, Susan, is
So you'd have
both
to ask
the
Susan.
engineer. Yeah, you have to ask Susan, but she's both the engineer and the supervisor. I mean, it's, the rules are very screwy because there's about 4 different formulas for.
So
doing
within the
flood protection.
rules, then they could charge whatever assessment they would like.
Yes, the limitation being they're elected by the people. So,
Yeah.
there's, and yeah, so they have a public budget. They have to show that it's going towards improvements to the property as in flood protection. So, but
Very interesting. The mosquito board has to come through us for the assessment.
we appoint them and I can't remember if we.
They have their
approve
own
this.
board. They have their own
Mhm.
board. I don't know if they approve their own, but I know, well, they must.
They
because
must, because
They
they're
do,
not
because
elected.
that's
They're not
correct, and
elected, so-
correct. And then that, from that goes on your consent agenda and the last
Right.
agenda in I'm having a hard time talking, of November. And then you three like consent to their what they've already adopted.
And the weed board's the same then.
Correct.
Yes, right, the same way.
But if
for
you
them.
change the assessment, it has to come in front of you board before they do theirs,
Yeah.
But diking improvement districts, I don't think have to come to
No.
us.
but our noxious weed board does.
Yeah. We certify their budget, we've talked about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. We
little bit
certify, but I
confusing.
think,
That you've received it,
I think acknowledgement is,
received it.
yeah.
Sorry.
That's one of the privileges you have for living on high ground. You don't have to worry about these diking district assessments.
Well, until the diking district decides to expand, which
Or go-
began the conversation.
Or goes bankrupt. And
True.
remember, we had
Oh.
we had a hearing with the Willow Grove district that they don't have any extra people to charge. They're already like 3 or 4 times the assessments of the other diking districts because, they're landowner poor.
Yep.
And the expenses keep going up, so.
So if the diking district X does something that is not foresightful enough and they lead to ineffective protection against floods and things like that, we pick up the tab, the county does?
No, I really didn't mean that. I was thinking in terms of, private sewer systems where the developer says they can't do it, they can't afford it anymore, that we end up absorbing
Right.
that governance. Camelot being probably the biggest example of that happening. It isn't quite like that. I'm not sure there's been a diking district that's actually gone belly up. But, the people will be flooded if the pumps stop working and that was one of the things that they were worried about.
Yeah, I'm thinking an example where, let's even make it quite pernicious. There's malfeasance and
Oh,
we
I've got
bought.
an example. we
Oh,
went
go
through
ahead.
that in Longview, 1977. There was extensive flooding not because of a pump failure. But as it turns out, there were culverts that were plugged up with mattresses. And so the neighbors that were drained was Pershing Way was the neighborhood, low lying in Columbia CBG. And people got flooded out. And in the subsequent investigation, it turned out that the district hadn't maintained the culverts between the drainage ditches. So the water backed up. Well, upon even further investigation, it turns out that the diking district engineer had contracted maintenance to a private company that he owned.
Ooh.
And in secret, and he ended up, very embarrassing. And our diking district commission supervisors now are very much aware that maintenance is a top priority and has to be above board. And I can't remember, I think the guy may have gone to jail and pretty embarrassing because it did cause damage.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
they're subject to all the other rules about malfeasance and misfeasance as elected officials. It's pretty,
But I guess in the end, the taxpayer always picks up the tab.
Yeah.
Do you remember the story on the floods that hit Kalama, I think maybe in 2015 or something like that?
2015, where the downtown filled up.
Yeah, and the post office got flooded and so
Yeah,
people.
the
were
city
getting-
hall got flooded and they all
Yeah.
had to move up to the community,
Yeah,
the Kalama. What do they call it?
'Cause I-
Community hall?
I spoke recently with someone and the accusation, which I didn't follow, there was no, anyhow, the accusation was that those pumps hadn't been properly installed. So there's proper insulation and then proper maintenance and
Which is, there's not a diking district in Kalama. So that might have been a city.
that's a city thing, I think.
City
Yeah.
thing. And cities usually don't do flood control, so something that slipped. They had a change in public works directors. The guy that had been there forever, stopped working for him.
Yeah,
And in small cities, there's that interpersonal knowledge of things that have to be done that sometimes doesn't get transferred when jobs change. And I'm assuming that's the problem on that.
And then back
Your
to,
good friends on the Calumet City government are probably very much aware they've got to keep those things
Yeah.
done. When I was on the airport board, we discovered a similar thing. They had a problem with excess water. Not on the runway, but in the field surrounding the runway. And it turned out that there were some drains to the drainage ditches that had plugged up.
Mhm.
And they got that. Regular maintenance hadn't been done for years with the airport, so that's being done.
I have one more agenda item. Sorry.
Okay,
Are you okay with the one being on, the MOA being on consent? That you three would sign for at least the study?
I am.
yeah.
I'll
I mean,
put it
our
on for next week.
Attorneys have looked it over and they're
They
good
have.
with it, so.
Yep, and they fixed a couple items of wording, so yes. And the other item is tomorrow in your motion items, and then I see you've added another one too, so I'm assuming your house will be packed with your resolution that's on there for tomorrow after me, but there's a flood hazard management plan. And that's the one that it was a 1988 county flood plan that our department went out and got grant monies for. It was $231,375 that we were eventually awarded. We received the remainder of that, the last bit of that this last year. The study has been completed. Department of Ecology has signed off on it, so we just need the board's blessing on this plan, and then
Do we need some kind of a formal ceremony where you lift the plan up and give it to Larry and say it's yours from here on out?
Larry will be in attendance tomorrow. There were over 100 people, stakeholders, cities, different jurisdictions or different entities that played quite a role in this outreach. They had several open houses. They had lots and lots of meetings in different areas of the county too, north, south, and here at the county building. They had a flood study done of the Westover, Lomar, Nevada Drive area as part of this, and Susan will say she was right all along. So anyways, Ecology just approved it this last September, just last month. So we received it back and will be in front of you tomorrow.
You said Susan was right all along.
Susan was right all along.
About,
The flooding of the Lomar, Nevada area. That's what she'll say. She'll smile about it,
I mean, what was the issue?
that it's a lot of water for that area.
Yeah.
There's
everybody's knowing
nothing.
that.
There were-
When the upper grates on
The ri-
Lamar Road get plugged,
The water's high and the Cowlitz, and there's nowhere for the water to go.
well, there is that, but we also have to make sure that the road crew keeps that one grate
Yes,
open.
Yep.
At the top of Lomar, because
yes.
when that's plugged,
And they know that now.
it
Yes.
goes out
Yep.
on the roadway and it becomes the river.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still floods down below, and there
Yes,
probably
it does.
plans to buy some more houses or lift up a few more.
I don't know.
Seems like each time it floods,
Somebody else gets raised up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen a couple houses go up out there.
that was one of my first big research projects when I came on board, because the residents wanted something done.
Yeah.
Ken Stone said, we have been doing stuff, millions of
It's
dollars.
been ongoing. Oh, yes.
Anyway,
I don't know who you're gonna have in to speak on it, but I'd like, I listened to the presentation at the planning commission, and all I heard was all the great money we can get from grants because we have this now. And I'm more interested in, I'd like to see what extra burdens are on the landowners now. What more burdens are we putting on, or what are we relieving? Because when it was first presented, it was a great way it was presented as our things so outdated, we think we got better technology, we can relieve some of the burdens on the landowners. But if that's true, then I need to know what it is.
Okay.
And if it's not true, what are we expecting them to jump through hoops for now? Because just doing it so we can get money really doesn't interest me.
And I'm not interested in any
Yeah.
more grant money for my
Yeah.
end of it. It would go.
Well, I don't
yeah.
care if it's a byproduct, but for the sole reason just to do this, because then we can go out and gather money. It's more important to me that we're actually making it easier for our people. If that's possible.
Or
Yeah.
safer, yeah.
Well,
And
yeah,
with this.
I'm not interested
this
in being there.
Plan, they have their first kickoff meeting is this morning in emergency management. So I've got a few staff members over there right now with this kickoff plan. Talking about the safety of the community and what this plan means to the county. So I'm
I-
curious to see what
Get
your,
tired of being a nanny state. People are grown-ups. They can make some decisions for themselves. We don't have to tell them everything to do.
Yeah, and then there's the pictures of the people bumper to bumper on the freeways and in hurricane areas when they've got no warning. And there's really nothing they can do. Just batten down the hatches is the best they can do. And these plans, I'm typically suspicious that they're academic, but not too practical. And so I don't know if you can address that. Maybe you shouldn't, but
If we can avoid it, I just don't like putting more burden on the folks.
at least if there's more burden, you want to see that it's worth something.
Yeah,
And that's where my question comes in.
I agree with you, gentlemen.
okay.
Yep,
So that's
Well-
pretty much why I had it moved over.
I will let Adam and crew know.
Yeah.
Thank you. He does have a slide presentation to at least show tomorrow if you're interested.
So this is the public hearing.
No, it's just a motion item.
Okay.
Yeah, I had it on consent because there was nothing, the board just we've accepted the work, but I know Rick wanted to move it to a motion item, which is great. So,
That's fine.
yep. That's it. Do you have anything for me?
Well, for not having public works, you have stretched it out for a full 45 minutes.
All
Way to
right.
go, Tracy.
Thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Tracy. Any other?
Conservation District Tour. Are we all going?
I'm not, because there's a BPAC meeting that day that I don't want to miss.
Oh. Yeah, you going, Dennis?
I remember reading the notice and I thought there was a conflict, so I have to double check because it's coming up next week.
It's not this Thursday, but the following
Yeah, that's what
Thursday.
I got a little bit. confused.
I think it's a luncheon down at the golf course.
the Lewis River
There's
Golf
a
Course.
Yeah.
Tour or something like that.
Yeah,
And I just know there's a BPAC that I wanted to be part of, so I didn't.
That's Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Thursday the 19th.
19th, I believe.
Yeah. I have not signed up yet, but I will probably try to go.
you probably will not go.
I will probably try to go if I can.
One of us, I've had mixed thoughts on that. That's Thursday, the 19th.
What time?
I don't think there's a problem if you sign up and I sign up.
No, it shouldn't be. Is it in the morning or is it after?
It starts at 12 p.m.
Okay, I have a feeling that was kind of the conflict. But the collaborative, I think, is scheduled to meet then. So that's why I have to resolve that. That's a
Okay.
conflict. I might, yeah. The collaborative usually goes to about 12:30, so it's not like I can't go. I'm just maybe late. I'll let you know.
Yeah. So I probably will sign up. It's in my district, so I think I should. And then this Spirit Lake Tootle Cowlitz River Collaborative. Are we all going?
I'm going up.
Tuesday or Thursday this week?
Yeah,
I think we're all going.
that one can be. It's segmented, so we don't have to be at every,
Correct.
Right.
yeah,
Correct.
okay. Is October 12th still viewed as Columbus Day?
I was gonna say the banks are closed today, I
They're
think.
closed.
We,
Seattle, city of Seattle is closed also
Are they?
because it's Indigenous Peoples' Day up there.
oh,
So
think-
that's October 9th then apparently.
we, and I don't know if they still do this, but we close the branches, but then would have a all staff training day. So,
What I heard on the radio this morning is that the credit, was it Cyber Federal? Or Red Canoe, one of them was using this as their day of caring, doing,
I think Red Canoe.
doing projects
Mhm.
around the community.
Poor old Columbus, he was famous and then now infamous.
Yeah,
Well, he was a little controversial when he was alive, so.
anything else? Okay, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.